It was really funny because it's really hard to prove something like that. It's very hard to, you know, because the guy was reclusive. He was not out in the public eye, but and it's funny because I've been on the internet and I looked at a lot of stuff, and there's like all this weird cult stuff around it. You know, with these chakmuls and witches and tensegrity classes and all this stuff going on in Los Angeles.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, there's a huge industry actually built out of something called Clear Green Incorporated, which own the rights to Carlos, basically. That's what I told him. I said, you own the rights to a man who was not owned by anything? Really? I don't know how you did that, but
It's amazing.
yeah, and I'll talk about that too, because that's, you know, there was a day where Carlos was very angry. You didn't see that very frequently, but very, not really angry, just frustrated, I guess is probably better. I mean, it's still anger, right?
Yeah.
Frustration and anger are pretty much the same thing, under the same umbrella. But his was more towards a frustrated level that, and I asked him what was wrong, and he slammed his hand on the table and said, they're trying to steal my work. They're trying to steal my work. Because he was reclusive.
Yeah.
I mean, no interviews. They wanted Time magazine.
Yeah.
I think that was pretty much it after that. And he had talked to me about, because I don't know, did any of you see that Time magazine piece where he's got his hand over his, where he's doing this? It was funny because before I saw that picture, I was talking to him, he was talking to me about that one day, when he was being his only interview he ever really did. And he said he walked in there, sat down, and the guy started asking him questions, and he wouldn't answer them. He just kept pointing to the desk, right? Because he didn't want his voice recorded. And he knew that guy had a tape recorder in the desk and on, right? And so he just kept pointing to the desk and pointing to the desk. The reporter's like trying to, you know, stop him, but then he ends up opening it, putting it on the table, and turns it off. And then Carlos says, "Hi, how you doing?" And he starts talking to him. So he gives him this interview, and he said, "No pictures, no recording, no pictures of any kind." So as he's walking out the door, the reporter says, "Hey, Carlos, one more thing." And Carlos turned around and put his hand over his face, and the guy snapped the picture. The things I witnessed by knowing this man, you know, he could have been not Carlos. This is the point I really want to stress. I knew him as Carlos Castaneda, that man. I have been told that that's not Carlos Castaneda. Actually, I would say Carlos Castaneda, as he would say it. But, you know, it didn't really matter. I mean, I now know that's who he was. I didn't care. I mean, the minute you see something that is out of this world, it doesn't matter if his name's Bob or Jim or Joe. Right? So I met Carlos on my birthday. It was July 10th, 1995. I had just turned 25 years old. Right? I was living up in Florissant, and I'm driving down a dirt road, and there's this little red Honda with California license plates around a corner off to the side. So I slow down so I don't hit it, because the dirt roads aren't very wide, they're kind of narrow. It was through the corners, another car coming. So I slow down behind it, and I realize there's people in it. Right? So I pull over to see if they need any help. And I walk up to the door of that Honda, and before I could lean, you know, talk to the people, lean in and talk to them, he jumps out of the car. That guy, picture. Jumps out of the car, starts shaking my hand like this. He's like, "It's nice to meet you. It's nice to finally meet you. I'm so happy to finally meet you." I'm just standing there stunned. I'm like, "What the hell is going on here?" Right? And so he keeps doing this, and the look in his eyes, he's just like an ocean in there. You just feel this kind of presence. I was totally stunned. And then, just as quick as he started to do that, he started to ask me directions to this friend of mine, Dan's house. Right? He was a friend of mine that lived out there. And I said, "Oh, Dan, I know Dan. You go here, you go there, you go over there." Gave him directions. And he was in the car and he was gone. Just like that. And as I'm walking back to the truck to get in, I was with my wife, I turned over and I looked at her and said, I just met Carlos Castaneda. I have no idea. I had no idea. It just came out of my mouth. I had read his book when I was 14. It fell off the shelf in front of me. I looked at it and I went, oh, wow. I had never finished a book prior to that. I'd started a lot of books, lost interest, put them down. Really. I mean, after Dick and Jane, see Dick run, see Jane run from Dick, you know. I didn't read. I was not interested in it. And I was walking through a library, and this book falls out on the floor, and it's a separate reality. It's the cover that got me. You know, there's this dude floating off the ground, you know, this weird stuff under there, and so I thumbed through it. I understood very little of it, very little of it, put it away. You know, I read it all the way through. It was some parts of, you know, where he's describing his experiences were really intense, but I had no, I was like, wow, that's just weird stuff, right? And off it went. You know, and then I picked him back up when I was 21, had read enough of them, and was stunned by him. Because for me, and I think this happened for a lot of people, is when you read them, it's like you're having the experience yourself. There's some aspect of you that is so familiar with what he's saying, is that it just starts rattling you around on the inside and takes you to a level of excitement where you start looking around the room you're reading the book in, and it's taking on a life of its own. That you're beginning to see a vibrating state. That this is just, this is pure energy vibrating. And you get a glimpse of that. I know everybody that I've ever talked to that read them, if I describe it to them that way, they're like, yeah, it was like I had a familiarity with that experience. Didn't know how, but they could feel that. You know, and it was very much that way for me as well. So I meet him on my birthday. Later that day, we're going over to Dan's house for a surprise birthday party. Right? So me and Dan had birthdays 6 days apart. There's a friend of mine that also hung out with Carlos. And go up there for the party, and there's some people there. So we're just mingling. Carlos walks up to me, says, hi, my name is Carlos Castaneda. I'm like, the writer? So again, shook my hand. And then, you know, we mingled in the party. And then afterwards, as people were leaving, me and Carlos went and sat out on this picnic table. And I'm sitting here. He's sitting across from me. And there's a pine tree behind him. This is the first day I met him, later that evening. He starts telling me about me. Right? And I'm starting to have thoughts like, who does this guy think he is? I mean, what's he doing? And then he would start to recite what I was saying in my head. Privately. He would recite it. And to hear that is one thing. To experience that is really spooky. Because that's where we can hide. And for the next 2 years, I didn't get to hide anywhere. Ever. Imagine no solace where you can have your psychosis to yourself. Imagine that. Because you can all go home and freak out. Imagine not having that. Because you have this man who knows every thought in your head, can make you feel things that are very, very, very good, and when you're not being so good, very, very, very not good. I mean, they're you, really. I mean, for me, it was me. That's what I was feeling. Right? It wasn't him doing it to me. It was him exposing me to myself. Now, the thing I think that really people got hung up on in any of the reading of it is it's so foreign to us. Mescalito, flyers, mud shadows, allies, things creeping around in the bushes, crazy intense emotions, crazy intense feelings, throwing up, pissing your